Hi there, my name's Ben, and today I'm going to speak about why I collect art and why you should too. So before I get into it, do my little preface as always. I cannot draw, I cannot paint, I cannot sculpt. I'm all thumbs when it comes to that. However, that doesn't stop me from appreciating a beautiful painting or a beautiful photo or a wonderfully crafted bust of of marble. And I think that precisely because I don't I'm not very artistic in that sense, is one of the reasons why I'm so fascinated with it, which is one of the reasons why I collect it. It's not one of my main three that I'll share, but it's always something that's fascinated me. It's something that, just as a concept, even thinking about how the early humans drew cave paintings, there's something primal, transcendental, and just very aesthetically pleasing to look at. But anyway, I digress. Why do I collect art, and why should you? Well, firstly, paintings can speak to you, right? It's much like, or you can be very drawn to them. They can elicit certain emotions. They make you think about certain things, and not just paintings, but other forms of art, so drawings, sculptures as well. And because it elicits certain feelings, which can be either good or bad, I think it's really, really important to be able to have that in your space. And that's one of the main reasons why I collect art, is because when I come across something that speaks to me in that way, or that I'm drawn to it and I don't quite know why, I immediately have to grab it. So that's one of the main reasons why I collect art. A second reason, which is perhaps a little bit more shallow, is that it's a great conversation starter for, especially if you have people over and you display your art, which is something that I have to do when I get home as well. But the fact is that you can have such discussions about the different art that you collect and about the art that you're displaying, what it means to you, what it might mean to the other person. And it's almost as though there's this whole, I don't want to call it there's this whole bubble that forms around this piece of art, this piece of visual art, that it's very similar to like when you're discussing music or when you're discussing a movie with your friends or with your family. And I think it's there's a reason why people pay millions of dollars for their art. It's not just because it looks pretty. It's not just because they're drawn to it for some reason that they can't quite understand, but they want to talk about it. They want to share it. If not with the general public, but then, of course, with people in their circle. So that's another reason why I collect art, is just because I like to have that conversation started, but I also like to share the art that I bought with the people in my circle, especially. A third reason why I collect art as well is that it makes the living space more pleasant. This sort of is like, you could argue it's a subset of the second reason, but it does make your living space more pleasant, especially when you are surrounded by artwork that you're drawn to. And I think that, I do have a tendency to live a very Spartan lifestyle at times, where there's not a whole lot of decorations, there's not a whole lot of stuff, let's say, adorning my walls, not a whole lot of pictures, anything like that. But I like collecting art and having it just because, and displaying it at times, because again, it can brighten up a room, and it's just, it's aesthetically pleasing to look at. But those are the three main reasons, I guess, that I collect art. But also I think the reason why I do it one of the reasons why I do it as well is because it's much like people who collect sneakers or who collect hats or jerseys or stamps. There's not necessarily something about the collection of it and the logging and the trading of it, but it's more so it's a hobby that I can't quite describe. So let's say it's the same thing with if you were to collect watches, for example. If you're a watch person, then okay, there are different ways to the complication. There are different mechanisms inside each watch which make it unique. Is it a quartz mechanism? Is it something else? Is it automatic? Is it a manual? And so on and so forth. Does it tick? Does it not? How many complications does the face have? And so on and so forth. Art is very similar, just because there's so many different genres of it. And I'm not one of those. I'm one of those people who does kind of disparage modern art, where you can just take an empty tin can, put it on a messy table, and say, yeah, here you go, art. And sometimes some of the circles can get really pretentious, but I do like to have the conversation regardless, because you're learning more stuff. You're learning more about the artist and about why they created this piece of artwork, why they chose this medium. And I mean, you can even go down to, it can even come down to this is the reason why I do oil on canvas instead of another form. This is the reason why I choose this specific paint, or why I mix it in a certain way, or why I have let's say why the artist has a particular style of it. I do like the abstract mostly. I'd say that's definitely one of my favorite genres. I am also a big sucker for the classical stuff as well. I like Diego Velázquez is a good one. I would say the one he did a lot of royal portraits for the Spanish royal family. But another one that I really like is Francisco Goya as well, just mainly because it's not quite it's not quite as focused in and sharp and refined, but it is more there is a little bit, almost looks like a little bit blurry. Like there's this one piece that I really, really enjoy by him, and when I'm rich enough, hopefully I can buy it. It depicts a scene from the Napoleonic Wars, so when Napoleon's army conquered Spain, and it depicts this freedom fighter, the Spanish guy, who's about to be shot, and he's standing like this with a white shirt on, and it's a very, very powerful piece. I'm not just a huge fan of the Spanish ones as well. I mean, Titian is a great classical master, if you will, from Italy. And then of course there's Francis Bacon in his works of art as well, especially his recreation of Pope Julius II's famous portrait. I really, really like that one, and that's the one thing that I like about collecting art as well, is that you can collect what you like, but you're always discovering new stuff that you end up liking. And I used to think that I was very much, I like the black and white stuff that has, themes of mortality, themes, spaces that are quite dark, that are somber, really make you think. And again, that sort of perhaps was a reflection of, either the mood that I was in, or just the way that I perceived the world. But now I've noticed myself collecting more stuff with color, collecting more stuff with that doesn't quite have a realistic sense, but stuff that where there is some artistic license, where it is a little bit more abstract, and it's very, very heavily focused on designs. And I think that for me, it's just that the real-time evolution of my art taste is part of the reason why I collect art, and why I continue to collect art, and why I think you should too, because if anything, it offers you more of an insight into your own state of mind, and you can have those discussions with other people. but it's almost like a discovery game. Is you're trying to decipher, why am I drawn to this particular painting? And once you answer that question, then you end up learning more about yourself, and you can use what you've learned to better live your life. So I think there is no better substitute for for learning. I guess it's a hobby where you can learn so much about yourself, and through that you can sort of almost transcend your physical existence through looking at this painting. Let your mind play and wander. And yeah, I think it's easily a hobby of mine that I absolutely adore. It's not the cheapest hobby, I will say. Sometimes it can get fairly expensive, but having something like that where you can appreciate and where you can learn about the different styles of art, where you can learn more about yourself. I think it's really important to have a hobby like that. Maybe not necessarily to collect art like I do, but I still think everybody should anyway. So with that said, I ask the question to you: are you an art collector? If so, what do you look for? Is there a particular artist that you collect, or are you more like me and you'll collect anything that you're drawn to? If you've got answers to those questions, please let me know down in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching.